What if Hollywood's most admired black faces, icons of glamour, power, and success, were living completely different lives behind the scenes? When fame is built on a perfect image and meticulously crafted relationships, a single leaked secret can shatter an entire career. In an industry where being true to oneself has often meant elimination, many actors have chosen silence, concealment, and even sacrificed personal happiness to survive. But what is the line between privacy and fabricated lies? Are they protecting themselves, or trapped in the longest role of their lives? In this video, we explore the controversial and haunting stories of 10 black actors who allegedly tried to conceal their secret same-sex relationship secrets that could change how you view Hollywood forever. Sidney Poitier was more than just a movie star. He was an icon of grace, dignity, and quiet strength in an era where black men were denied equality. On screen, he always appeared calm, elegant, and unwavering. But behind that glamorous facade, gossip silently followed him throughout his peak years in Hollywood. The public admired not only his talent, but also his private life, which Sidney kept tightly guarded from public view. At that time, the film industry was completely intolerant of anyone who broke the unwritten rules. A single rumor could ruin a career overnight, and Sidney understood this better than anyone. He cultivated a perfect public image, a pioneer, a family man, the respected role model Hollywood needed. Yet those closest to him believed that there was always another side to him, discreet, cautious, and incredibly selective in placing their trust in him. Many believe his close friendships with several men in the industry were not entirely coincidental. His prolonged absence from public events, his quiet life between films, and his almost complete avoidance of personal matters fueled speculation. This wasn't due to shame, but rather a survival instinct in a world never ready to accept the truth. Whether the rumors were true or not, Sidney Poitier was a man of rare restraint. His silence was more powerful than words, his control over his image almost absolute. He built his career on integrity and protected his private life with ironclad discipline. Even after his passing, the gossip remains. Hollywood remembers him as a man who broke all barriers, but the world will forever be curious about the sacrifices he made to maintain that image. Some say Sidney Poitier lived two lives, one for the public and one solely for himself. Johnny Gill's voice is uniquely captivating, deep, emotional, and smooth enough to make people stop and listen. However, behind this resounding success, the R&B singer has been trapped in a persistent, unending story. For years, rumors surrounding his relationship with Eddie Murphy have followed him like a shadow, infiltrating every hit song, every interview, and every public appearance. It all started with their close friendship, a friendship considered too intimate. Rumors said they were frequently seen together, laughing, traveling, and always there for each other through difficult times. But in the speculative world of entertainment, friendship never seems to be enough. Tabloids crave drama, and they turn that closeness into sensational headlines. The stories spread, claiming Johnny was more than just Eddie's friend. Before long, the rumors became truth in the press. Johnny spoke out against the rumors, calling them baseless and hurtful, but the more he denied them, the more curious the public became. Gradually, it became an integral part of his image, an unspoken question that was always present. Even his relationships with women were scrutinized, suspected, and dissected. For a talented artist like Johnny Gill, this was a cruel distraction, because music was what should have been the focus. Nevertheless, he continued to sing, compose, and perform, only his smile had become more cautious. To this day, the old rumors still linger. Some believe them to be fabrications, others consider them a secret that needs no confirmation. Regardless, Johnny Gill's story is proof that fame can turn a simple friendship into a scandal. He sang about love for decades, but when it came to his life, he chose silence, and that silence speaks volumes. Tracy Morgan is always remembered for his wild humor, unpredictable energy, and uninhibited acting style. He can make audiences laugh hysterically in an instant, then immediately leave them stunned with chillingly bold remarks. But behind that comedic facade lies something Tracy never wanted to reveal: vulnerability, something that forced him to build walls with his laughter. In the early days of his career, Tracy often joked about relationships, masculinity, and what it means to be a real man. However, many fans and even fellow comedians noticed that whenever the topic of sex came up, he became unusually defensive. His crude jokes sometimes sounded more like self-defense than comedy, as if he were challenging people not to question his true self. This only fueled curiosity. Behind the scenes in Hollywood, whispers circulated that Tracy's overacting was merely a mask, a way to prevent others from seeing too deeply. He grew up in a world where revealing vulnerability was almost forbidden, especially for a black man trying to survive in the comedy world. Any sign of weakness could be exploited against him, so Tracy did what he did best: turn pain into laughter. Over the years, audiences occasionally saw his fragile moments through losses, accidents, and near-death experiences. This showed that Tracy was more than just a boisterous clown on stage. Yet rumors of secret relationships and illicit affairs never completely disappeared. They became part of the legend surrounding him, the man who made the world laugh, but may have cried silently behind the curtain. Perhaps the truth is simpler than all the rumors. Perhaps Tracy Morgan's biggest secret isn't who he loves, but his fear of letting the world see his true self. In an industry that thrives on images, his most audacious role is probably convincing everyone that laughter is all he has to offer. Will Smith has been one of Hollywood's biggest names for decades. Charming, graceful, and always shining in front of the camera, he seems to be the perfect example of a flawless star. However, alongside that glamour, gossip about Will's private life has never left him. The public not only loves his films, but they are also obsessed with his marriage, personal relationships, and the strange rumors that quietly resurface every few years. Since the 1990s, when Will's career skyrocketed from a television star to a global icon, Hollywood tabloids began whispering that things might not be as simple as they seemed. His marriage to Jada came under intense scrutiny, especially when they publicly spoke about their unconventional relationship. This openness, instead of quelling speculation, only fueled public curiosity. Fans began speculating about private deals, secret relationships, and even same-sex encounters behind closed doors. Before it all, Will always appeared with a calm, confident smile that was almost unshakable. He joked about the rumors, turned interviews into charming performances, and skillfully redirected attention back to his career. But that very composure sometimes aroused suspicion, as if it were the result of a meticulously rehearsed script. Some believe that Will Smith's true self was hidden behind his fame, protecting a truth known only to a select few in the industry. Whether it was about marriage, sexuality, or the pressures of fame, Will had become a master of the art of secrecy. Even moments of public breakdown, like the incident at the Oscars, made people wonder if that perfect facade had finally cracked from within. Despite all his achievements, the rumors persisted. Will Smith is someone everyone thinks they know well, but in reality, nobody really does. He's embodied countless roles, and perhaps his best performances have been as the person he is in the public eye. In the early 1990s, Tevin Campbell was the dream of a generation of teenagers. His smooth, angelic voice and shy charm made him one of the brightest young stars in R&B. His hits filled radio stations, posters plastered all over bedroom walls, and everyone believed Tevin would have a long, even legendary career. However, behind that glamour lay a secret that nearly extinguished it all. From the beginning, the music industry labeled Tevin as different, too gentle, too discreet, and too refined in a world that celebrated strong masculinity. Rumors about his sexuality began when he was still a teenager, and at that time, even a simple rumor could ruin a young career before it even began. Tevin chose silence, avoiding questions and devoting himself entirely to music, but the rumors didn't stop. As he matured, the once-beloved prodigy gradually faded from the spotlight. Record labels turned their backs on him, the public shifted their attention, and tabloids interpreted his silence as tacit confirmation. For years, Tevin virtually disappeared, living a life far removed from the fame that had once clung to him. Then, in recent years, he returned, not just as a singer, but as a person no longer controlled by the gaze of others. Tevin publicly came out as gay, not as a confession, but as a liberation. This time, the world was ready to listen without cruelty. For Tevin, that honesty was a victory. His voice, still as clear as ever, now carries a greater meaning than music. It has become a symbol of courage. Tevin Campbell's story is not just about hidden secrets, but also a reminder that fear can steal your spotlight, and only the truth can reclaim it. He used to hide behind his songs, but eventually, he became strong enough to express his true self through his singing. Queen Latifah has always been an extraordinary individual, confident, strong, and bold enough to never apologize for who she truly is. From her early days as a rapper challenging the double standards of the music industry to becoming an award-winning and respected actress, she has never followed in anyone's footsteps. Yet, amidst all these brilliant milestones, there is a part of her life that Queen Latifah keeps more private than her career: her personal relationships. For decades, rumors surrounding her sexuality have never ceased. The public often sees her appearing with a woman at events, vacationing together, even living together. But Queen Latifah has never confirmed or denied anything. Each time asked, she simply smiles calmly and skillfully changes the subject. It's not fear, but absolute control. She quickly understood that her private life is not something for the public to judge. Hollywood has its ways of punishing women who don't fit its mold, especially black women who dare to live life on their own terms. Queen Latifah understood this, and through deliberate silence, she not only protected herself, but also the brand built on power and independence. She let others speculate while focusing on her career, family, and happiness. Over time, that very silence became meaningful. When Queen Latifah publicly thanked her longtime partner in an acceptance speech, fans finally felt the gentle acknowledgement they had long awaited. It wasn't a loud declaration, but a truth placed in its proper place, graceful and needless to say. Queen Latifah's story shows that strength doesn't always come from shouting your truth. Sometimes, strength lies in living quietly, without apologizing, and without allowing the world to define you. In an industry obsessed with labels, she is a rare example that a true star doesn't need any labels at all. Tyler Perry built an empire from nothing. From years of homelessness to billionaire status, he transformed personal pain into a purpose and created a media empire in his own unique way. The world knows his inspiring rise, but in contrast to his brilliant career, Tyler Perry's personal life has always been shrouded in mystery. For years, fans have been curious about the true man behind Medea, a man who frequently writes about faith, family, and moral values, but rarely reveals anything about his private relationships. Rumors about Tyler's sexuality have circulated since his early plays. Some believe that his sensitive writing style and his comfortable portrayal of female characters fueled these speculations. Others believe that his discreet lifestyle, free from scandals and romantic entanglements, fueled public imagination. The more he tried to avoid the rumors, the more they seemed to spread. Tyler indirectly addressed the gossip, asserting that privacy was his top priority. He had never been one to flaunt his personal life, and that was part of his strength. In a Hollywood where every move is scrutinized, Tyler Perry's silence became a solid shield. However, many believe that this silence wasn't simply a desire for peace, but also a way for him to protect a part of himself that the world might not be ready to understand or accept. What makes Tyler's story compelling is the calmness that permeates it all. No angry interviews, no dramatic denials, just quiet confidence. He continued to create, continued to succeed, and continued to keep his private life private. Perhaps the truth isn't shameful at all. Perhaps Tyler Perry simply refused to let fame take away his freedom. Regardless, he has achieved something very few stars can: complete control over his own narrative in a world that constantly demands transparency. His greatest strength perhaps stems from that very mystery. Eddie Murphy was the undisputed king of comedy in the 80s and 90s, a superstar with sharp wit, irresistible charm, and a signature laugh that could make an entire auditorium erupt. However, at the height of his career, a single late-night incident changed the way the world viewed him forever. In the summer of 1997, Eddie was pulled over by police in Los Angeles while driving with a transgender woman. Within hours, tabloids were filled with sensational headlines, turning his private life into a cruel public spectacle. Eddie insisted it was a misunderstanding, that he simply offered a ride. But at that point, the explanation was no longer enough to salvage the situation. The story spread like wildfire, and the most powerful name in comedy suddenly became the target of relentless gossip. From then on, every interview, every red carpet appearance was accompanied by a silent, judgmental gaze. Hollywood smiled, pretending nothing had happened, but the memory didn't fade. After that incident, Eddie gradually solidified his image, shifting towards family films, safer, and more approachable roles, as if wanting the world to forget that fateful night. At the same time, he built a solid wall between his public image and his personal life. Those close to him noticed Eddie becoming more reserved, more cautious, understanding the fragility of fame. For many years, the incident remained a buried secret, known to everyone but unwanted. Whether it was just an act of kindness or a moment of unintentional misunderstanding, it became an inseparable part of his life story. Eddie Murphy may have brought laughter to millions, but behind that smile was a man who understood better than anyone that, under the harsh spotlight of Hollywood, even a small secret could become a lifelong burden. Paul Winfield left a profound mark on Hollywood history with his unforgettable roles in Sounder and A Hero Ain't Nothing But a Sandwich, where he delivered a rare level of genuine emotion that touched audiences and captivated critics. He was the kind of actor who commanded respect without fanfare, a great talent beloved by fans through every frame. However, behind that brilliant career lay a personal truth that Paul could never openly share. He was gay and kept it carefully hidden throughout his life. In the harsh world of Hollywood, coming out could mean the end of a career, especially for a black actor who already faced countless obstacles and limited opportunities. In his private life, Paul had a long-term relationship lasting over 20 years, proving that he had found true love, despite being unable to live authentically in public. Friends and close colleagues knew the truth, but he never mentioned it in interviews, on the red carpet, or in front of the media. Instead, Paul let his work define him, while his private happiness quietly remained hidden from the spotlight. Only after his death in 2004 was Paul Winfield's true sexual orientation revealed, leaving behind a story that was both resilient and heartbreaking, a balance between love and secrecy in a world that was never truly ready to accept him. Paul Winfield's legacy today reminds us that so many great stars have carried their truths with them until the end of their lives. Luther Vandross didn't just sing about love, he lived fully in every melody he sang. His voice carried such pure emotion that it could melt hearts, making listeners believe that every lyric stemmed from genuine experiences. Yet behind those romantic love songs lay a truth Luther never spoke of. For decades, he dominated R&B, winning countless awards and filling stadiums, but when it came to his personal life, he built walls higher than his resounding high notes. Fans loved the passion and vulnerability in his music, but few realized that much of that emotion was nurtured by loneliness. Rumors about Luther's sexuality began early, spreading silently but never confirmed. He neither denied nor confirmed, choosing only silence. In interviews, he smiled, evaded the question, and changed the subject. That silence was both a protective shield and a lifelong burden. The reality was that the music industry wasn't ready. A gay black man in the R&B world faced not only prejudice, but also the risk of complete isolation. Record labels wanted easily marketable illusions, not uncomfortable truths. Luther understood this, so he let his music speak for him. Each love song became a secret message, each lyric about heartbreak reflecting a life he couldn't live openly. Those close to him described him as gentle, reserved, yearning for connection, but always afraid of being exposed. Even in his final years, he kept that part of himself hidden, but his voice was never silent. Luther Vandross's legacy lies not in what he concealed, but in what he gave despite it. He may have loved in silence, but his music spoke for millions who couldn't. Behind the spotlight lies a man who transformed his deepest secrets into timeless art. And his story, like that of many other black stars, reminds us that they don't just perform for the public, they perform to survive. In a world that worships talent but fears the truth, love becomes something to be hidden rather than celebrated. The real scandal isn't who they love, but why they are forced to hide it. If you want to continue exploring the hidden truths that Hollywood never wants to expose, subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next story might make you question everything you've ever believed about your favorite stars.